Title: I walked in on my girlfriend with another man in bed. This is the second time, and I did this. Please don't forget to hit the like button. It costs you nothing and it really supports the channel. Thanks. I never imagined I would be writing a post like this, but I am in a really bad spot in my life right now, and I have read a lot of stories on this subreddit in the past. I've read that sometimes typing everything out and perhaps getting some advice from strangers who have been through this before can be therapeutic. I don't know exactly where to begin, so I'll try my best to tell this in a succinct way that still gives the important details. We will call her Kara. When I met Kara 6 years ago, I was just getting out a relationship that ended very similarly to the way this one just did. I had walked in on my ex with another man naked in our bed. Being younger at the time, I did not take it nearly as maturely as I have this time. That experience left a deep emotional scar and sense of insecurity within any other relationship I have had since. Kara and I bonded through this, because she too had been cheated on by her first boyfriend several times and knew the pain of betrayal very well. I had just gotten out of the Navy due to a medical discharge, and I had no place to stay because my parents were homeless living in the basement of their friend's office building. Because of this, Kara's mom told me I could live with them until I can get my own place, and I graciously accepted. At this point, Kara and I had known each other for an entire year and had been on a couple dates. After I moved in, we began having a sole relationship and things got very serious, but we still weren't official, at least publicly. Flash forward to the first red flag that came up in our relationship. My friend had me, Kara, and all of my high school friends over to his cabin for a party. I should note that my friend that was hosting this party was silently and secretly holding a torch for Kara, and I got the feeling if I was not in the picture at that time, they would have ended up dating. That night, they kept saying they wanted to try sleeping in a tent to see if they could weather the cold early spring temperature. I proceeded to start placing my things in the tent, and then she told me she and Mike were planning on being the only two out there because it's a two-person tent. Angry and getting flashbacks to a previous relationship, I took a step back for the rest of the evening and let them do what they had planned because I didn't want to cause a scene or an argument and ruin the night. I would find out a month later from some Facebook texts I saw between Mike and his brother that they made out in that tent and huddled together for warmth, and Mike felt very guilty over it but was scared to tell me the truth. After they got too cold in the tent, they came back into the cabin where everyone was sleeping. I had found a nice comfy sleeping spot on the kitchen floor, and she came over to me and cuddled up next to me. I told her, "I think Mike went over there," and she said, "I don't care, I want to be with you." I had a pit in my stomach because I knew in my heart at that time there was only one thing they were probably getting up to in that tent, but I told myself her and I were not officially a couple yet, and I tried to put it behind me. When I learned the truth through the Facebook messages, I confronted her about it, and she claimed she had forgotten all about it because she was so drunk that night, and then instantly flipped the script when I got Mike's side of the story, and he told me they had both agreed to keep it a secret. To say I was scared of what this meant for our future was an understatement. I loved this girl so much, and I wanted to make it work with her so badly that I forgave her, and I tried to put it behind me. The way she roped me back in was to tell me she wants to commit to a relationship with me right then and there after the confrontation. That was the only thing she could have said to make me stay. I was so desperate for a relationship with her, I had failed to even stop and consider if this was the correct choice. I said yes. That was all in 2018, and for about 3 years after that we had an amazing relationship. Plenty of intimacy, open communication about our feelings, regular dates, family trips together, the works. I was finally in the relationship I wanted, and sure it needed work, but we were both so young I figured we would grow and mature together and only get stronger. Boy, was I wrong. Flash to about 8 months ago in summer of 2022, we were living together in our own apartment. I had a full-time job at the hospital, and she was a CNA at the same hospital and an EMT on an ambulance, all while also attending nursing school. I was extremely proud of her ambition and work ethic. I would tell her that all the time. Our plan was after she finished nursing school, she would begin to support us more and allow me to start going to school full-time. Things were looking up until I started to feel like she wasn't putting in nearly as much into the relationship as I was. Our SX life slowed down. She would never reciprocate my back massages or any physical affection, and she wouldn't clean the apartment ever. Even if I tried to ask her to help, she would always make some excuse like she is too tired or she has to study, and these trivial things would become a much larger point of contention. We began drifting apart. We began bickering more often, not spending as much quality time together, and no amount of conversations would change any behavior. We had a serious talk and discussed breaking up, but we both decided we weren't giving ourselves enough chance to work through this rough patch, and we decided to stay together and see if we could ride it out. I made a mistake when the day after this serious talk, on a whim, I texted her telling her I don't believe anything in our relationship is going to change, and maybe we should just see other people. I instantly regretted that text the moment I sent it, and I wished I would have waited just 40 more minutes until she got home so we could talk about it more. I believe this was the day our relationship truly died. We would still text every day after the breakup, but she went to live with her mom for about 2 to 3 months and only started slowly moving her things back in after lots of deep text conversations and us promising we were both still committed to each other. When November rolled around, for a brief few weeks, things were better. We were having more fun with each other again, she was living with me full-time again, and even our SX life had gone back to how it was when we first got together. All of that came to screeching halt when her father became extremely sick with a horrible disease that shuts down all organs in your body and will kill you if not properly medicated and on a ventilator. He was in the hospital for over 2 months and everyone was worried he would not make it. Around this time, Kara began getting much more depressed. The last time we were intimate was around the time her dad went into the hospital. She buried herself in work, and I tried my best to comfort her and her family any way I could. Since I worked nights at the hospital, I would frequently come in and visit her dad when I had time, and I would reposition his body or swab his mouth to moisten it. I genuinely love her family so much still, and losing them is possibly the hardest thing through all of this. Her father gave me a family to be a part of again, and for that I will always be grateful. Now we are coming up on the final stretch of this story. It is now December 2022, and I noticed Kara pushing me further and further away. She started telling me she was going to hang with her friend Amanda, whom she worked with at the hospital. I had never met Amanda before, but I had no issues with her getting out and having some fun with friends when she could. I asked her if she would want to introduce me to Amanda and her boyfriend, and she would always brush me off saying, maybe someday. I took the hint and quit asking to meet her friends. She began seeing Amanda on a weekly basis, staying the night with her when I was working, and even some nights when I was at home. I am recalling specific moments that scream red flag now that I have all the facts in mind, like this one time where her and I were planning on having a chill night at home to play some video games and spend some much-needed time together, and she ended up canceling and going to stay the night at Amanda's house. When she got back, I asked if she had a good time, and she told me I shouldn't have gone. I should have stayed here with you last night. I'm really sorry. At the time I thought she felt bad for canceling our little chill session, but now I realize she was projecting her guilt about the infidelity. Finally, we are at the point where SHT really went down. A couple weeks ago, we were having a Valentine's date at a nice Mexican restaurant, and I decided to take a picture of her at the table across from me, and I was planning to make a post on Facebook about Valentine's. She asked me if I planned to post it, and I told her yes, and then she instantly told me not to. I asked why, and she explained to me that her friends disapprove of us being together ever since I broke up with her over text last summer, and she felt embarrassed about it still. This ruined my mood instantly and killed the date. I was very hurt. I felt like my feelings were second fiddle to somebody else's who I don't even know. This became a huge argument on the car ride home, which ended in us not speaking to each other for the rest of the night, and she took some clothes and left to stay at her mom's house again. She has been there ever since, and we hardly speak. We only see each other when she comes here to pick up a certain pair of scrubs or something specific that she needs. It feels like we have already broken up, so one night I text and ask her if she and I are even still together. Her exact response was, "You are still my boyfriend," and I took a little comfort in that message because I felt like not all was lost quite yet. Wrong I was again. This is the point where I need to tell you that we have a family-wide GPS tracking app called Life 360, which allows you to see everyone in your circle's current GPS location in real time. I have never felt the need to use this app to track her location until the past few months when she began pushing away from me. I would check her GPS location when she told me she was with friends, and she was always going to the same house a couple towns over. She told me that was Amanda's boyfriend's house and got angry at me for tracking her location and saying I'm accusing her of cheating. I felt so crazy when she said that, like I really was just being overly insecure and paranoid. She gaslit me. Tonight, I was hanging with a longtime friend of mine. We got pizza, hooked up his computer to the TV, and we were couch co-oping some Fallout 2. It was a wonderful night, until I checked Life 360. I noticed Kara was at a fancy restaurant downtown, and I texted her asking what she was up to. She told me she was with some girlfriends from work, some names I actually knew and had met before. She stopped replying to me, and I noticed shortly after she drove back to this house that she has been house-sitting for some family friends. After leaving my friend's house, I decided with a pit in my stomach and my spidey senses tingling that I would go drive by the house to see if there were any strange cars. I was terrified the whole way there. I considered just turning and going home, and that I was just being crazy. I pressed on though and made it to the house. Sure enough, an unknown car was sitting in the driveway alone. I parked next to the car and looked in the window. I could see a badge of an EMT ambulance driver, and it was a man's face in the picture sitting on the center console. My heart began pounding. In that moment, I knew Kara was inside the house with some guy she works with that I do not even know. I stood there, next to the car, staring at the house in the dead of night. I decided I hadn't seen irrefutable proof yet, and I needed to go inside to find the real truth. The front door was unlocked. I walked in quietly and made my way to the bedroom expecting to find them in the throes of passion, but they weren't there. What was there was proof enough to me that they had been sleeping together. Both his and her clothes were scattered around the room, the bed completely wrecked, obvious that they had just recently had sex on it. With my heart jumping through my chest, I began searching the rest of the house for them. I finally came down into the second living room, and there they were. He was sitting shirtless on the couch while she was standing up trying to find a channel on the TV with the remote in her hand. When she saw me, her eye lit up like a deer in headlights. I just stood there staring for a second until she broke the silence by saying, "Oh, hey. What are you doing here?" I was so upset. Having flashbacks to my previous relationship, I looked her dead in the eyes with the most intense look and simply asked, "What are you doing?" She didn't reply. She just sucked her lips inside her mouth, probably unable to think of a lie in the moment to tell me and gaslight me like so many times before. After a few seconds of silence, I turned around and stormed out of the front door, slamming it as hard as I could on the way out. That was 5 hours ago. After I left there, I went home, and I have begun shoving all her belongings into trash bags and boxes. I switched the electric bill into my name, and I've blocked her on everything except the phone number. She hasn't called or texted me. I opened Life 360 up one last time to see that she was heading directly towards Amanda's house 2 towns over, and then 2 minutes later she deactivated her location services on her phone to obfuscate her destination. Finally, all the pieces clicked for me. I realized she has been cheating on me for months and manipulating me into thinking nothing was happening and my suspicions were unfounded. I have been lied to so much and emotionally abused. I feel so alone and so worthless from this experience. I cannot even think straight still. Writing this post has been sort of helpful in compartmentalizing this trauma, and I really hope maybe some people here could comfort me during this dark time. If you read all of this, thank you so much for your time. Any comments are welcome, even the harsh negative ones that I probably need to hear. Update: I really appreciate all the kind words. I need to hear it all, so thank you for the harsh truths and comforting sentiments. I spoke to her brother-in-law this morning. I was just telling him kind of what's going on and that Kara will probably need a truck to get all her things later. He told me some very shocking revelations. He told me that a few weeks back, he overheard Kara talking to her older sister at the dinner table, and she was saying a random guy from high school texted her out of the blue a while back offering $150 for 5 nude pictures, and she took him up on the offer. On top of that, she would very regularly tell all our business to her family at dinner when I wasn't there. She openly admitted to purposely withholding sex from me as some sort of punishment for the breakup last summer, saying I don't deserve it, why should I get it? This is a completely different tune than what she told me time and time again. She would always state it was due to stress about her dad's poor health and her depression, to which I would always try to be understanding about. To say these revelations added insult to my already injured ego and heart would be an understatement. I have been waiting all day with very little sleep for Kara to come pick up her things. As a silly sort of humorous side note, we have these block letters hung up on the wall that spell out home, and just for the hell of it, I removed the M and pushed the E closer to spell HOE. It gave me a much-needed smile, and I really hope she saw that. I was also slightly maliciously packing her things. I was shoving all photos of us, old love notes, etc. in any bag or box I had nearby at the given moment. The immature, vengeful side of me hopes that she will eventually stumble across all these memories as I had to while packing them up and feel at least a fraction of the pain she has caused me over the years. I don't think that will be the case, however. As I'm writing this, Kara and her brother have just finished getting all of her things out of the apartment. They are gone. The place is just as quiet as it's been for months, but a lot cleaner and emptier. In my mind, I was wondering how this whole situation was going to go. I deduced it was going to go one of two ways: either she would come in crying, apologizing, trying to rope me back in, or she would ghost me and get in and out as soon as possible with little to no interaction. It ended up being that latter, which stung the worst. I was hugging her brother, and he was telling me if I ever need anything, he still sees me as a brother and he would be there for me. Kara walked up to grab another box, and she couldn't even look me in the eyes. I said, "When you're finished up, would you like to come up and speak privately with me?" "What do you want me to?" I cut into her trailing off sentence saying, "The truth. I want the truth. Will you at least give me some semblance of closure? I don't want to talk to you." I figured. I already knew the answer to that question, but I wanted to see if you would or not. That was our final interaction. Still hurting after they left, I slipped up again by giving in to my feelings and sending her some strongly worded text messages, basically telling her how pathetic she is that she can't even own up to it or apologize to my face. Instead, she would rob me of any closure and ghost me. She isn't even reading them. I wish I could so easily move on as she has. I guess it's easier when you already have somebody else waiting for you. It's just very unfair that after 5 years, I'm left to pick up the pieces alone while she jumps onto the first guy she sees. I want to block her number, but I can't yet. My car title has both of our names on it, and I want to make sure I can switch it to myself only before I completely cut contact with her, just in case the bank has some sort of in-person consent policy for changing the title. After that is figured out later this week, I will finally be finished. To the people talking about common law, the state we are in does not recognize common law unless you already attained a common law marriage in a different state and moved here. As for reporting them to their employer, I simply do not know this guy's name. I could not report them if I wanted to, and to be honest, I'm not the kind of person to try to go nuclear like that. I just want to move on with my life and start looking towards my future without her. Thanks again for the comments. I don't think another update will be necessary, but if something crazy and unexpected happens, I will surely come talk about it here. This whole process of typing out my experience and being able to dissect and reread it while also taking feedback from experienced strangers has been very helpful. Until next time, trust that they suck.
The reason why your ex-girlfriends keep cheating on you is because you lack boundaries. You suspected that Mike had a thing for your girlfriend, and yet you allowed them to go outside to the tent together. You said, and I quote, "I took a step back for the rest of the evening and let them do what they had planned because I didn't want to cause a scene or an argument and ruin the night. Well, that's a big red flag right there. And that just shows you that she belongs to everyone. She knows that you will take her back after she's done with Mike, which unfortunately you did. That just shows her that you're willing to tolerate whatever she throws at you because you don't have any boundaries. Even after you caught her in a lie, you said, and I quote, "The way she roped me back in was to tell me she wants to commit to a relationship with me right then and there after the confrontation." What this tells me is that you are desperate for a relationship and she knows it. So when you caught her in a lie, she had one card to play to manipulate you. And she knows what card to play, which is the relationship card. And she was dangling that in front of you. As a man, you shouldn't be desperate to be in a relationship with a girl that you're already having sex with because she had already given that power away. The only thing that you have over her was the power of having a relationship with her. And you gave that away as a reward for her dishonesty and her gaslighting. If a person cheats on you once, what's to stop them from doing it again? She made a promise to you that she's committed to the relationship. And guess what? She cheated on you. No matter what their excuses, if they cheat on you once, they will find other reasons to do it again. In this case, she knows you very well, and she's able to manipulate you, and she knows the right thing to say. And when you caught her, she blamed you for it. It's not your fault if it happens once, but if it continues to happen again and again, then you have to stop blaming the girl and start blaming yourself because they will only do things that you allow them to do. And if you have no boundaries, she will continue to push you till she loses attraction for you, and then she's going to dump you. I hope now that you're wise enough to realize that she belongs to everyone. And the moment you have boundaries, you attract the kind of woman that deserves you. But something tells me that you will run back to her again as soon as she promised you that she will be loyal. Please don't forget